Imagine your company spending months building cloud infrastructure only to have it crash during your biggest sale of the year. Painful, right? Here's the thing. Most non-technical leaders avoid dealing with cloud architecture because it seems too complex. But what if I told you that understanding the basics doesn't require a computer science degree? In this video, I'm going to break down cloud architecture in a way that actually makes sense even if you've never touched a line of code. Plus, we'll talk about 4 key features of the cloud that'll help your company save money, improve security, and serve more customers. Before we dive into the nuts and bolts, let's talk about what cloud architecture actually is. At its core, cloud architecture is the way we design and organize computing resources that power modern applications and services. It's about strategically combining compute power, storage, databases, and networking to create resilient, scalable systems that deliver consistent performance while optimizing costs. Think about major platforms like Netflix, Spotify, or Shopify. They all rely on sophisticated cloud architectures to serve millions of users simultaneously while maintaining reliability and speed. So let's break down the 3 main types of cloud services that you'll hear about. You've got infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, platform as a service, or PaaS, and software as a service, or SaaS. So think of it like building a house. With IaaS, or infrastructure as a service, you're getting the empty lot and foundation and a whole lot of building materials. You have to build everything yourself, like the bare bones of Amazon's AWS, Google Cloud, or Microsoft Azure. It gives you the most flexibility to build exactly what you need, but it requires the most effort and comes with the most responsibility. But with PaaS, or platform as a service, you're getting a completed house with no furnishings or fixtures. The basic structure's there, you just need to add your personal touches, which in this case would be your applications. The platform to run your application has already been built by the cloud provider, and they manage it and keep it running. You just have to deploy your applications. An example is Google App Engine or AWS Elastic Beanstalk. And SaaS, or software as a service, well, that's like moving into a fully furnished house. Everything's ready to go. The application is provided to you on a subscription basis, like when you use Salesforce or Gmail. Most businesses actually use all 3 types without even realizing it. I was working with a retail client last year, convinced they were just using AWS, but it turns out they were using AWS for their infrastructure. They had Heroku for their development platform and Shopify for their online store. That's all 3 service models working together. So let's talk about what makes cloud architecture so powerful. First up is scalability. And this is where the magic really happens. Imagine you're running a small coffee shop. During regular hours, you have 2 baristas working, but when the morning rush hits, you quickly bring in 2 more. That's exactly how scalability works. Your resources expand when you need them and shrink when you don't. Normally, the schedule for a coffee shop would have staff levels predetermined based on known patterns. Staff would show up 15 minutes before an expected spike at lunchtime, for example. And this is one approach to scaling that you can take in the cloud. But the more powerful option is when scaling happens automatically based on demand as it happens. Things get busy and baristas materialize until traffic drops off and they vanish. You only pay for the time the resources are running. So this is the real power of autoscaling. Think of Zoom. Before 2020, they were doing fine, but when the pandemic hit, they had to scale massively, practically overnight. These weren't business users. It was things like children's music lessons going online. The only reason Zoom could handle that kind of explosive growth was smart cloud architecture. And now, I'm not saying that your business needs to prepare for 30 times growth overnight, but wouldn't it be nice to know that you could handle it if it happened? Now let's talk about reliability. Have you ever had an older cell phone that suddenly refused to start after being plugged in and you realized you hadn't backed up any of your photos? Cloud architecture helps prevent those oh no moments on a much bigger scale. Instead of keeping all your eggs in one basket, or in cloud terms, all your data in one data center, you spread them across multiple locations. So if something goes wrong in one place, like a construction crew accidentally cutting through fiber lines, your business keeps running smoothly. This redundancy is difficult to pull off if you're running your own servers in your office. Your services and applications can fail over to a different data center or availability zone or different region or even in a different cloud platform entirely if necessary and if your architecture is designed well. Speaking of things going wrong, let's tackle security. Here's the main concept that you need to know: shared responsibility. This says that the cloud provider is responsible for security of the cloud and the customer is responsible for security in the cloud. So remember when I said that infrastructure as a service came with the most responsibility? This is where you're responsible for the security of the infrastructure that you build. But as you move up the chain from IaaS to PaaS, here the cloud provider is responsible for more because they built and provide the platform that you're running your applications on. For example, look at a database. If you decide to go the IaaS route and install, run, and manage a database server on a EC2 virtual machine instance, then you're responsible for ensuring that host can't be accessed by bad actors on the internet, that security patches are installed promptly and that sort of thing, right? But if you go the PaaS route, you may use AWS's relational database service to hold your data. And in that case, the cloud provider, AWS, is responsible for security patching. You still have to make sure that your database password doesn't leak and that your database is not publicly accessible. But compared with EC2, where you're also responsible for securing the actual server that the database is running on, the RDS platform is lower risk for you. But security is about more than external threats, right? Sometimes the biggest risk to your data is environmental. Quick story. I had a client who was hesitant about moving to the cloud because they thought keeping their servers in their office was more secure. But then one weekend, the office's air conditioning failed, and by Monday morning, their servers had overheated and died. So this is where they realized that maybe the cloud providers with their state-of-the-art data centers and redundant systems might know a thing or two about keeping things safe and running. So let's talk about what really matters, though, to your bottom line. How cloud architecture can supercharge your business growth. What really excites me about cloud architecture, it's not just about handling more traffic or staying online, it's about innovation. When you have the right cloud setup, you can test new ideas quickly and cheaply. Want to try a new feature? Launch it to 10% of your users first. Set up a test environment in minutes instead of months. And here's the concept of economies of scale in the cloud. So you can take advantage of advanced AI, satellite, Internet of Things, blockchain, and myriad other services as little or as much as you'd like, many of which would be impossible for a lot of organizations without a significant financial commitment. So think of it like having a playground for your business ideas. In the old days, trying something new meant buying expensive hardware and committing to it for years. But now you can spin up a test environment for the cost of a cup of coffee, and if it doesn't work out, no big deal, just turn it off. As a non-technical leader, you don't need to know how to configure a server or write code. But understanding the basics of cloud architecture is about giving your business the foundation it needs to grow. So here are your next steps. Take stock of your current setup. What's in the cloud already? What isn't? Look for bottlenecks. Is your current infrastructure holding you back? Start small. You don't have to move everything to the cloud overnight. Focus on one business problem that you can solve with better cloud architecture. Just like a good city plan allows for future growth and change, good cloud architecture gives your business room to evolve and expand. Want to take your cloud architecture knowledge deeper? In this next video, I tackle real-world cloud migration strategies that minimize risk and downtime. I'll show you proven techniques for moving workloads to the cloud while keeping your business running smoothly. So click here and we'll see you in the next video.